Joey O'Connor will be running session 2 this afternoon. Session 3 will be run by Jess Taylor. That will be the first session tomorrow morning. Session 4 run by Steph Golub. That will be the second session tomorrow afternoon. And those are your sessions covered. We've got all of you have been chatting to. I'm sure you've been chatting to Zena Molson for the last couple of weeks. Zena's been handling all of our registration and sending you out all of the invites. And Neil Golding, who used to work for JNCC, now works freelance for Aquarius survey and mapping. And Neil will be listening astutely to everything we do and say over the next couple of days. And one of our aims is to funnel all of our useful information and any conclusions. They're all going to be collated and written up in a report by Neil. So that's your team. We'll be looking after you for the next couple of days. A word on the facilitation platform now. So this is Teams. The fact that we're all on the call means that we made it, that we figured it out. As the days go on, we'll be interacting and using different aspects of Teams. So I wanted to just run by a few of the most basic ones, just so that we're all up and running. So the first thing, please do keep yourself muted while sessions are on. One of the advantages of this platform is that you can unmute yourself, though. So whenever you want to ask a question, you can do that. You've also got the option to have your camera on or off. Got no preference, but it is quite good when you're talking that people can see you, as they can pick up on your cues and so on. So, the camera can be on when you're asking questions, say that just helps everybody else too. Speaking of questions, you'll see in the top, sort of the top bit of the screen there, that you can toggle, there's like a little hand up thing that you can use to raise your hand. It'll be quite useful in any question sessions, that it's basically the equivalent of putting your hand up, right? And what we'll do is the facilitation team will try to get around every person who raised their hands up in order, so that you'll get a chance to ask a question if time in the session allows. Alternatively, you can also type in a chat using that little chat sort of speech bubble thing, and that will appear on the left-hand side of the screen, as you can see, and you just type a message in there and it will appear. The facilitation team will also keep an eye on the chat. Worth noting, as the workshop runs on, we also want to keep a record of the chats, because this is all useful stuff that can be used to write the report. Yes, we will get a copy of that at some point. The next thing to cover is, of course, when you want to leave the meeting, it's just the big red button in the corner. If you hit it by accident, then you can just go back to all the links that you were sent with, to log on to the meeting itself, and you just basically log in yourself. We've taken out the lobby function, so you'll just come straight back into the meeting. If you do come in sort of guns blazing, full camera on, in the middle of doing something with your sound on as well, please just be careful to mute yourself. Okay. And there are a number of meeting options and functions. If you click on the three little buttons there, depending on the software, on the IT sort of that you have installed on your computer, you'll be able to sort of play with different backgrounds and things like that. You can access all of that from there. So that more or less covers the things that we're going to need to use in Teams over the next couple of days. I hope that's straightforward. A final note is we will be recording every session of the workshop over the next 3 days. For prosperity, these records will be posted on the Big Picture workshop webpage that we've set up. So even if you can't make any sessions over the next couple of days, it'll all be there, and you can get access to it, at a later stage. It's worth just explaining a little bit about the Joint Nature Conservation Committee. Who are we? We're a public body that advises UK government and devolved administrations on UK-wide and international nature conservation. And there are three sort of broad functions that the JNCC work to deliver. One is provision of high quality evidence, which this imagery work falls in, providing practical policy relevant solutions to things, which in some ways this imagery work also fits in with, and to provide a shared service to government and public bodies, and to work in partnership with businesses and society, which this workshop and all of this imagery work fits in very, very much with. So JNCC will be we'll be leading this event, but we're by no means alone, as for the last just over 2 years, there's been an active collaboration effort across all of these organizations that you can see their logos displayed there. There are many more who have been involved. I just couldn't fit too many more logos on, and at the same time, there's sort of varying degrees of how involved organizations have been, but there are 42 collaborating organizations across the UK and a few outside of the UK who've been involved with this imagery work over the last number of years. And essentially, we're here today to discuss and share, well, first of all, share the results of that collaboration over the last 2 years, but to discuss how that's working and to discuss things going forward. And I know all of you on the call, you're all interested in seabed imagery. You work with it in some shape or form. And so there are many opportunities. There will be many opportunities over the next couple of days to contribute to conversations and to help us all figure out collectively the best way for this whole collaboration effort to go forward. And why are we doing this? Well, it's ultimately to improve the quality of seabed imagery, the usability of it, and increase its value as time goes on. So the objectives of our workshop for the next couple of days, we've divided them into four main areas. The first is to share progress that's happened over the last 2 years. I'm very pleased to see many of the same faces from the first workshop 2 years ago, and it's great that we're all still working on this, and we just want to see what have we actually achieved over the last couple of years. Secondly, actually, the second, the third, and the fourth objectives are really more sort of forward-looking. And one of the key things we've identified that is needed to further project work is, not surprisingly, the identification of suitable funding routes to continue work. At the same time, a lot of what we're doing overlaps with other work all around the world, and there's no reason why we should work alone. So we're very keen to explore global outreach opportunities and see where we can partner up with other organizations and share advice and information back and forth. And finally, as a catch-all point, it would be really good to hear about where things are not going so well and where things could be done better. and those future challenges, to identify those, flag them up straight away, and as having them there will enable us to think about the best ways of going forward with all this. We'll achieve the first objective through a series of presentations from various members of the group going forward over the next couple of days. For the other objectives, we aim to achieve those through open discussions, participation, and they'll be facilitated by the facilitators of the workshop. As we are meeting online rather than in a big room, we decided that we would keep the discussions open online through raising hands and comments in the comments box and questions that way, rather than breaking things into lots and lots of groups over the next couple of days. And then ultimately, all of this work, it will be funneled into the report. And so everything we're doing for the next couple of days aims to be channeled into the report, and for the report to be the record, not just the record of our event, but also to carry in it sort of our recommendations going forward for, you know, where and how should we explore funding opportunities, global outreach, and the future challenges. So the program for this, I think many of you have already seen. I am just going to run through that now. On the first day today, we are mostly looking at things that have happened already and things that are currently underway and nearing completion. So these, in a way, are our early successes. Session one with this morning is a recap of the journey that we've gone on the last couple of years, and after lunch, we discussed some of the early successes of the work so far that have culminated in the development of some standards and quality assurance framework. Tomorrow, then, we're looking at things that are more day-to-day concerns of our benthic imagery work and immediate concerns, some really cool stuff. In the morning, we'll be discussing you know, what we do with our data, how we organize benthic imagery data. It's been a long-standing question that few have wanted to touch with a barge pole, and we have some really good ideas here, including how to incorporate AI going forward. After lunch, we'll be looking at tried and well, not really tried and tested, but long-standing issues with working with benthic imagery, including identification, enumeration of things in imagery, and image annotation approaches using software. And finally, on the last day, we have a session in the morning to deal with training. This is more sort of forward-looking, about building capacity for image analysts going forward, image annotators going forward. You know, how are we going to train people? How are we going to keep standards at a certain level? What sort of standards are we going to have? What guidance do we need? And as a bit of an unusual one, I couldn't fit this one in anywhere else in the program. We're going to be discussing acquisition approaches. That's a huge topic, but we've distilled it down to some quite sort of focused areas, and so that's been smushed into that session. And finally, to wrap it all up, we will discuss the future of the big picture workshop. And try to wrap up everything that we've come across in all of the other sessions so far. In terms of ways of working, I've got a number of bullet points, and the general style that we have all worked with, those who work with the big picture group so far and have done for the last number of years, it has always been a very collaborative, respectful, and a supportive approach. And this is very much what we want to keep going now, where we pay attention to each other, listen to each other, try to be constructive and positive with things, of course. So this is what we want to keep going through the next couple of days. Try to keep to one person at a time, which the facilitators will try and work through people as they put their hands up or make comments. We'll try to get around everybody fairly in time and try to keep sort of one person talking at a time. As I'm sure we've all become quite used to online working now, we know what it's like when you have a dozen people trying to talk at once, and so we sort of just have to try to manage that. Yes, if we could try and be punctual for the start of sessions and meetings, that is something for all of us, including the facilitation team, to try and keep to. Okay, next big point. This workshop is broken up into 6 sessions, and each session is 2 hours long. We will run these sessions for the full 2 hours, ideally, but if the session has said all that needs to be said, which I don't think is likely, but if that does happen and we run out of steam, then a session can be ended early. And the reward for working so hard and nailing everything so early is we get an early break. So that's one of our rules here. We're trying to keep the sessions to 2-hour blocks. In those 2-hour blocks, there's a mixture of sharing of information through the presentations that our speakers have prepared, followed by questions, and then a facilitated discussion. Now, none of the sessions are going to be the same. We've got different speakers in each session and different facilitators, so they all aim to accomplish these broad aims of exploring funding routes, global outreach, future opportunities, and sharing information. But it could happen sort of in an ad hoc way. The only thing that is structured are the presentations. And besides that, we are very keen for you to contribute to these sessions, to volunteer your ideas, ask questions of the speakers. All of this information is very useful and will ultimately be put together in a summary, which each facilitator will provide in the final session of the workshop. So we've got the 5 sessions that lead up to this, and each one tackles slightly different topics. And in the final session, if we have all of those topics summarized, then it will really set the scene for a good discussion in that final session. I'm getting around to an opportunity to ask questions, by the way. I'm just going to rattle through our general rules of the road if we can hang on just a minute longer. As we are working online, of course, breaks up from your chair are very important. We aim, that's why we do sort of factor in sort of, half-hour tea coffee breaks in the morning and the afternoon today, and why there's an hour lunch break every day. Now, within the breaks, there's an option. We can set up sort of a separate dial-in room, like a virtual room, and we can sort that out. If that is something that people want, then we'll set that up. We realize having all of us in the one place virtually for a couple of days is incredibly useful if there's a person you've been wanting to talk to about a certain piece of work, say. So your breaks are your own, of course. You go out, have some space, get a walk around. But also, if you did want to sort of talk to people, then we can set up kind of a virtual room, and we can give everyone access to that room. So if people would like that, can I get a show of hands, please, just so I can get an idea if that is something that people want? I guess, judging by how many hands that go up, then we can sort of set up a room for that. Okay, for us to set up a virtual room, we need to make you a member of the Big Picture Group team site, which is a collaboration sort of platform that the group have had access to for the last couple of years. For this, we give you access through your email address, and that will basically give you access to the meeting space. Yes, if yeah, we could set that up, and then you've got access to that, and then yes, after the workshop, we can discuss if you still want to be a member of that site or not. Then we can take you off the site, of course. So, okay. I think we've got a few hands up, enough hands to set up a group as such. So if I can leave that to one of the facilitators, maybe Jess, would you be able to set up a room space for us to meet? Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay. And in the meantime, we'll have to make you a member of the platform in order to access the site. So if you did not want that, please email the Big Picture Group email address, and we'll take you off that. Okay, great. Now, can we see if we can lower our hands too, please? You just have to click the same button and it should go away again. Sometimes it sticks though, but hopefully they'll all go down. Okay, almost all down. Okay. Great. Okay. Yes, I think that's most of what I wanted to cover with the online working side of things. There is the email address, like I said. If any of you are having trouble with anything in the platform that we're currently using, then please email that, and someone will give you a hand with the thing you're trying to access. I think this is a good point to pause and ask anyone if they've got any questions with the plan for the next couple of days or the styles of working at this point. I'll just pause for a minute. You can put your hand up or you can make a comment. Okay. If we've got no questions at this point, that's fine. I'll move on to the plan for today. Okay. So the aims for today are much the same as every day this week. To share the progress we've made so far with the Big Picture Group, to identify the funding routes, global outreach, and future challenges, and ultimately our records will go into the report. We've got a break just after our introduction here from about 10:30 to 11. Following that, we'll start session 1. I will run through the, first of all, the session will be led by Kirsten, and the challenge of the session well, essentially, I will be bringing you all up to speed with everything that's happened over the last couple of days. I will try and modulate my voice, and I will try and go through highs and lows so we don't fall asleep listening to just one voice for a long time. But what I aim to do is to break things up for us, to discuss sort of 3 important things that we've all been involved with, everyone in the Big Picture Group for the last 2 years, and that is the development of the UK benthic imagery action plan, and then following on from that, the formation of the big picture group. And then the most recent development is sort of the formation of project working groups within the big picture group, sort of task and finished groups made up of different organizations that will carry out some of the tasks from the benthic imagery action plan. And then Kirsten will facilitate questions going forward during the session there. Then we've got a break for, that's just going to be an hour. Then we'll break for lunch from 12 to 1. And then we're going to have session 2, our earliest successes. Now, Joey O'Connor will lead the session for us, and he'll introduce our speakers. I'll chip in again about the development of benthic imagery purposes. I'd like to tell you more, but you're gonna have to wait till later on that one. Following on from that, Jess Taylor and Graham Duncan will be telling you about the development of an exciting sort of standards framework, the quality assurance framework that is soon to be launched in the NMBAQC standard scheme. And then following on from that, the development of the Epiphone identification protocol that many of you have been involved with over the last couple of months. So again, similar to the first session, Joey will be facilitating sort of the presentations, any questions that arise during the workshop. We'll then have another little break and aim to close the day at 4 o'clock, just after a quick review of our progress there. So that is the aim for today. Are there any questions at that point then? Any questions there? Okay. Okay, that all looks good. So everybody understands what we're going to be covering over the next couple of days. We understand what we'll be running through over the course of today. While we're all here, there are just a few general points I'd like to cover. A quick question. Some of the we need to bring in some of the speaker consent forms, please. If you haven't had a chance, speakers, can you bring in some of your consent forms, please? And yes, just a question for participants online about the structure and about the proposed program. If there are any sessions in particular that people are interested in, and any having seen what sessions are on for the next couple of days, if there are any additional items that people think should, that people think could be shared in the sessions, I'm interested just to sort of see if anyone would like to bring any additional information into any of the sessions. Maybe if I run through the sessions one by one. Let me see here. Actually, I've just thought of a better way of phrasing that question. If you all excuse me, I haven't quite phrased that question quite correctly. What I would like to say is, I'd like to gauge the interest of everyone on the call at the moment in some of the technical sessions of the program. So if possible, I think probably the best way to do this is a show of hands again. Could you put your hand up, please, if you are interested in session 2, which is focused on standards, the application of standards through a live quality assurance framework. I can get a show of hands there. That would be interesting. Thank you. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And then if we could drop our hands again, please. And then if we could skip on to the session 3, which is to do with benthic imagery in the digital realm. This is considering our data flows, imagery catalogs, application of artificial intelligence, machine learning approaches on imagery. Let's get a show of hands for people who are interested in that session. Okay, thank you. And then we can try to put our hands down again. Thank you. And then for session 4, this is to do with the day-to-day imagery work that we do, where we are identifying, enumerating, often taxa in imagery, and the image annotation software that we use as well. Can we get a show of who's interested in that session, please? Okay. Thank you. That's great. I've got that. And finally, the session about really looking forward, the future training approaches, ways that we can sort of assess the quality of assess the standards of image annotators, guidance documents going forward, entire workflow guidance documents, which I think we'd all like to be able to refer to at times, coupled with the odd one out in that session, again, is the image annotation, the image acquisition approaches. If we get a show of hands for that one too, please. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Brilliant. Well, that will help us to figure out where the interest lies and the sort of things that people are interested in. I'd just like to open up for one final bit of questions, and if we haven't got any more, if we haven't got any questions initially, that's totally fine. Remember, you can type them in, or you can raise your hand and you can chat. Okay, folks. Well, that's just a quick welcome to the workshop, a virtual workshop, slightly different to our other workshop that we had before. We've got a different approach here. We'll be using this Teams platform. We've got a plan. We've got speakers lined up. We've got each other for the next couple of days. So I hope to make use of this time in all of our, in our week. And yes, looking forward to the sessions now.